Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Johnson from JoJoEmpathic.com. I'm a psychic medium. And in today's episode, I am going to give some tips on how to guide yourself into spiritual sovereignty. So please like, comment, subscribe. I want to hear from you. Share this video to support my channel so we can continue with these missions to help uplift us all into a higher place of spiritual sovereignty. Why? Why is that so important? Well, this video is really to help us kind of shift out of the mindset of indoctrination, the mindsets tied to dogma. So, in other words, this video has helped shift the church into spiritual sovereignty. So, if you find yourself at this place now, today is November 11th, 2025, the 1111 portal. In a very specific sky. So go back and check my last video where I went over the astrology of what's happening now. So Saturn and Jupiter are having a whole show right now. Jupiter is in retrograde flowing to Saturn as of today, depending on where you are in the world. I'm in America. This is an expansive energy of growth. We're asked at this time archetypally to look at how can we anchor a healthier and stronger foundation that it can be lasting, that can be expansive. So with that, many of us, and given that Pluto's in Aquarius and everything we're going through with the awakening, we are really being asked to look at the areas of our life where there is self-imprisonment. And we have to understand that that is a belief. We are in self-imprisonment because of ourselves, no one else. We like to blame other people, other situations, things that have happened to us, times where we've been wronged as the reason to why we are in a state of self-imprisonment. But it truly is a belief. So if you're here today and under these skies, you're looking at your life and you're saying, I'm imprisoned at work. I'm imprisoned in my relationships. I'm imprisoned with my health and addictions and habits. I'm in a self-imprisonment in my mental health and just feeling an overall sense of being lost and confused and unhappy. Okay. A lot of people that feel this way are also simultaneously realizing and having the awareness that a lot of our choices that have brought us to this place of self-imprisonment have been indoctrinated or stem from the church or some sort of dogma or some sort of indoctrination, some system that tells you that these are the laws of God for the laws of man, and this is how we should live. So it is natural at this time to question those systems, question that heavy hand, even though you're taught not to. So everything in the world would tell you not to be obedient to the blind, obedient to the systems, right? The church, the education system, all of these systems that are being reset right now. We are in a place as a collective saying no more blind obedience. We want to question things. We want to dive deeper. And the facts are changing right before our eyes. So let's tie this all together with the 3-eye atlas comet. Okay. I made a whole video on this previously. Go check it out on my YouTube channel. But one of the things in the description box that I had put in there was that just like comets are typically ice and dust, there in the dust there is silica. So we have silica in our bodies as well, but more specifically in our bones. We also have silica in our cell phone chips. Okay, this is part of our everyday technology material. And so a good way to symbolically see and have more of a discernment of like what's happening above and below and through us here and collectively is that I put it in my last video to pick up the phone. The comet is a message that we can feel in our bones. That's where we receive it. We receive the energetic impression through our sensory system, through our skin, through our sight, through the sound and hearing. But it's also through our bones, more literally here is what I'm feeling like being called to say is what in to your core of you, to your bone, are you saying enough is enough? I want to go higher. I want to do better. I want to feel clear. I want to feel more focused. I want to feel more grounded. I want to do more. for myself, for my family, for the world. If you are in this position now and you want to pick up the phone to the heavens right now with these gravitational pulls and these archetypal skies that are guiding us from the heavens, one thing you want to do is answer the call. So whatever it is that spirit is guiding you to do, whether you call spirit God or the universe or your higher mind, your angels, what are you being called divinely to finally make a choice and do? This is the path to take today on 11/11. And I want to help you to dive a little bit more deeply. Go back to 2018. Go back to 2017. Maybe you want to even go back a little bit further, but 2017 to 18 is really a significant timeline marker of what today's portal is asking for you to finally wrap up those lessons. So for many of us, we have been in cycles since 2017 or 18 that are just right now, we're like, enough is enough. But here's the thing, we have to understand our lessons before we go on to the next lesson. So your objective today could be to sit down and look since 2017, 2018, around that time, what happened and what's been happening since then. I have been in this pattern. I notice that I tend to do X, Y, and Z. Every time pressure's put on, I run. Every time I get a promotion, I try to escape it, even though I want it. Every time I go into fear, I run to a certain person and become a victim and try to manipulate so that I can have power or feel held. I've been acting out of my inner child in this way, at that time, and at that time. You have to sit down and psychically tap into your contracts, to tap into time. In order to evolve and go higher, you have to recognize and give awareness to the patterns in your life that are either productive or non-productive, that are either creating something in a positive way or creating it in a negative. So creating or destroying. You're both the creator and the destroyer of what is happening right now for you in your life. So today on 11/11, go back there and say, I see this. I see my ways. I see the way I lie to myself. I see the way that I handle circumstances when I'm in fight or flight. I see that I've been operating out of survival mode for so long. I see that I run to the candy bar every time that things get difficult for me or I get emotional. Or I run to the bar every time that I feel I need somewhere to feel held, So it's like you have to be honest with yourself. You can't beat yourself up for your issues. That's where you actually give yourself more self-love and compassion, when you realize that you have issues, but you overcome it by understanding the root of where it started. Why are you doing this? What is the motive behind your mechanisms that lead you in that direction to try to have power and try to maintain power in your life? And a lot of times the toxic ways will come down to a sensory experience. You did something because you were trying to survive. You did it so you could eat, so you could rest, you could feel safe, so you could reproduce in a way, so you could feel needed through sex, All of these things are motives instinctually for the human. So give yourself a break when you can look back and say, okay, now I see why I did that then. I acted that way here. And if there's these about 5 significant events in these past 7 years that have shifted my life completely. And the way that I've handled it every single time is out of the same coping mechanism versus me really in a higher state of empowerment and authority, which is the opposite of self-imprisonment. So if you can go back since 2017 and 18 and realize, where have you imprisoned yourself instead of freed yourself? What are you thinking and believing and telling yourself internally that you have been for so long? And are you really showing up for yourself in the way that you believe you should to change the things that need to change in your life? These are the steps to freedom, empowerment, and healing of indoctrination and dogma. that's 11:11 today is calling all of us to embark on and go through that path. Like the one and the one next to each other looks like a path. Spirit's saying walk through. You won't be able to walk through unless you really understand these lessons and make a commitment. Unless you make some sort of free will choice to make the change. So with Atlas, Three Eye Atlas, I put in my video, we're going to have a lot of disclosure coming out, more and more. And so this message is for those that may have been that are trying to kind of get out of the church, that are starting to see the ways that the church is false, or that there is a higher love out there, a God that doesn't punish, like the God of the Bible does. And so if you're there and you're still not all the way across the bridge yet, when we start to hear the truth that there are so many different races of beings in the world and the galaxies, when we start to learn that there is a different true story of human origins than what we've been taught, when we begin to see that the religious systems are part of man's laws, it can be very shocking. And one thing that I've been called to share is that you have to understand that there's so many truths in the world. Like, you can have a truth through Christianity. You can have a lot of success through it too. But there's a higher truth. And even when you get to that higher truth, the spiritual sovereignty, you still have a choice. You can still feel pain. You can still make mistakes. You see what I mean? But there's two truths. And so one of the messages Spirit's speaking to you today to help bring you some sort of peace, to free yourself from self-imprisonment, is to remember this, that the higher power, which is unconditional love. Time out. Why? Well, although you can be the Christ and the Antichrist in one body. You can be a creator and destroyer at any time. Okay, you might, ladies, maybe get PMS, and you all of a sudden are destroying. Okay, it's very easy to relate, at least for me. Sometimes, it's like, it's the destroyer in me. And then there's times where I'm really just at peace and at love and comfort, and I'm just creating all of this bliss, and I'm honest about that. Not many people can be honest that they destroy at times. They take their power and they go low with it, or they take their power from the inner child and react through it. It's normal. And that's how we have one love. That's how we see, I always talk about Donald Trump being a destroyer. That's how I see love that's how I see love for him, is that even though he's a destroyer, it is bringing peace in some other way. And look at what I've destroyed in my life, and he destroys too. So we judge so quickly people. It's hard with him because human rights are being violated. It makes it very difficult when there's dictatorship energy. It's different than among us in the collective, right? Because the restraints come from places that he's in. So one may argue he's more of not just the duality, but more of a lower destroyer, right? But in a sense, what I'm trying to say is that we all have this potential, and no one is perfect here. And if you can be this honest with yourself, you love other people so much more deeply. You don't judge people as harshly. You forgive them for their mistakes because you make mistakes, and you know what it's like to feel not loved, and then you act out of your wounded you and act this way, which is just how they're acting to you, and you're judging them so hardly about it. Understand that in, let's say, sound healing, the higher oscillation entrains the lower vibration, always. So I'm going to claim here today that the higher power of unconditional love is what rules, is the light that overpowers darkness. It trains it, it transmutes it, and it rules it in the duality that we are, and that is law here. Understand, dear one, that the higher power, the light, unconditional love, wants you to have spiritual sovereignty. Because that is empowerment versus self-imprisonment. That is fundamentally why. And in addition to unconditional love being a law of this universe, we also have free will. So the higher power wants you to have choice. The higher power wants you to have rights. The higher power wants you to have freedom. And the higher power wants you to sit with your brothers and sisters, your neighbors. The higher power wants, and fragmented, and is a fractal, to be diverse, to have different thoughts, to have different beliefs, different creations that we all create. That is the discernment of the highest vibration you should lean into. You should allow to work through your mind and work through you as a channel of spirit. That is where you give your thoughts, is to that higher power, fundamentally. And that's how we read energy outside of bias. I'm getting outside of my ways, right? In JoJo's world, I believe, I'm going to be with a man. I believe that I'm a feminine woman and a goddess. And when I am in a love partner relationship, it's with a man he's a creator and God in the world. Okay. And we come in harmony this way. That is my law that I feel is religion. That's my religion. My laws that I live by. But here's the thing. When I get myself out of it and I take my bias out of it, I don't project that on other people. I want to sit with others that say, I am a woman, I identify this way, and I like to be with other women. Or I am a man, I identify this way, and I like to be with other men. And perhaps we can come together and say, the person that's a gay man that says, Jojo, I agree with you. There is like a feminine and masculine in our relationship. There is a give and a take. There is a yin and a yang. I do see that. So essentially, me and this gay person, although I live a certain way, he lives a certain way, we have the same law of duality. And that's how we read energy without bias, without putting yourself into it, without saying, you need to act this way. You need to follow what I believe. Do you see where I'm going with this? Drop a comment. I'm saying that we can't all have the same laws of the universe, like gender, there being a feminine and masculine, but we can express it in different ways. We can, and we're meant to, is what I'm saying here, is we're in diversity so that we can be that expression. So today, as you walk through this portal of 1111, get yourself out of it. Understand your laws of this universe. Walk in it. And stop judging others as harshly. See the unity versus the division. Use your extrasensory perception to help you navigate through this life. And know that the higher power, the higher oscillation of unconditional love truly wants you to walk that path because it unifies us. It unifies you as a dualistic being, and it unifies our world that does have duality in everything, every relationship, every pattern, and our existence. So thank you so much. If you'd like a private reading, please book at jojoempathic.com. See you there.